addition to the foregoing classifications, there are a number of miscellaneous systems of secret writing, some employing mechanical devices, others colors. A few make use of sundry miscellaneous objects to represent words and even complete thoughts. But as these more elaborate devices were seldom employed by the ancients or by the medieval philosophers and alchemists, they have no direct bearing upon religion and philosophy. The mystics of the Middle Ages, borrowing the terminology of the various arts and sciences, evolved a system of cryptography which concealed the secrets of the human soul under terms generally applied to chemistry, biology, astronomy, botany, and physiology. Ciphers of this nature can only be decoded by individuals versed in the deep philosophic principles upon which these medieval mystics based their theories of life. Much information relating to the invisible nature of man is concealed under what seem to be chemical experiments or scientific speculations. Every student of symbolism and philosophy, therefore, should be reasonably well acquainted with the underlying principles of cryptography. In addition to serving him well in his researches, this art furnishes a fascinating method of developing the acuteness of the mental faculties. Discrimination and observation are indispensable to the seeker after knowledge, and no study is equal to cryptography as a means of stimulating these powers. Insert. Kabbalistic and Magic Alphabets. From Barrett's Magus. Curious alphabets were invented by the early and medieval philosophers to conceal their doctrines and tenets from the profane. Some of these alphabets are still used to a limited extent in the higher degrees of Freemasonry. Probably the most famous is the angelic writing, termed in the above plate the writing called Malachim. Its figures are supposedly derived from the constellations. Advanced students of occult philosophy will come upon many valuable documents in which these figures are used. Under each letter of the first alphabet above is its equivalent in English. Above each letter of the other three alphabets is its Hebrew letter equivalent. Continued. Freemasonic symbolism. In several early Masonic manuscripts, for example, the Harleian, Sloane, Lansdowne, and Edinburgh Coining, it is stated that the craft of initiated builders existed before the deluge, and that its members were employed in the building of the Tower of Babel. A Masonic constitution dated 1701 gives the following naive account of the origin of the sciences, arts, and crafts from which the major part of Masonic symbolism is derived. How this worthy science was first begun, I shall tell. Before Noah's flood, there was a man called Lamech, as it is written in the 4th chapter of Gen. And this Lamech had 2 wives. The one was called Ada, and the other Zillah. By the first wife Ada he got 2 sons, the one called Jabal, and the other Jabal, and by the other wife Zillah he got a son and daughter, and the 4 children found the beginning of all crafts in the world. This Jabal was the elder son, and he found the craft of geometric, and he parted flocks, as of sheep and lambs in the fields, and first wrought houses of stone and tree, as it is noted in the chapter aforesaid, and his brother Jabal found the craft of music, of songs, organs and harp. The third brother Tubal-Cain found out smith's craft to work iron and steel, and their sister Naamah found out the art of weaving. These children did know that God would take vengeance for sin, either by fire or water, wherefore they wrote these sciences which they had found in 2 pillars of stone, that they might be found after the flood. The one stone was called marble, cannot burn with fire, and the other was called latris brass, that cannot drown in the water. The author of this constitution thereupon declares that one of these pillars was later discovered by Hermes, who communicated to mankind the secrets thereon inscribed. In his Antiquities of the Jews, Josephus writes that Adam had forewarned his descendants that sinful humanity would be destroyed by a deluge. In order to preserve their science and philosophy, the children of Seth therefore raised 2 pillars, one of brick and the other of stone, on which were inscribed the keys to their knowledge. The patriarch Enoch, whose name means the initiator, is evidently a personification of the sun, since he lived 365 years. He also constructed an underground temple consisting of 9 vaults, one beneath the other, placing in the deepest vault a triangular tablet of gold bearing upon it the absolute and ineffable name of deity. According to some accounts, Enoch made 2 golden deltas. the larger he placed upon the white cubical altar in the lowest vault, and the smaller he gave into the keeping of his son, Methuselah, who did the actual construction work of the brick chambers according to the pattern revealed to his father by the Most High. In the form and arrangement of these vaults Enoch epitomized the 9 spheres of the ancient mysteries and the 9 sacred strata of the earth through which the initiate must pass to reach the flaming spirit dwelling in its central core. According to Freemasonic symbolism, Enoch, fearing that all knowledge of the sacred mysteries would be lost at the time of the deluge, erected the 2 columns mentioned in the quotation. Upon the metal column in appropriate allegorical symbols he engraved the secret reaching, and upon the marble column placed an inscription stating that a short distance away a priceless treasure would be discovered in a subterranean vault. After having thus faithfully completed his labors, Enoch was translated from the brow of Mount Moriah. In time the location of the secret vaults was lost, but after the lapse of ages there came another builder, an initiate after the order of Enoch, and he, while laying the foundations for another temple to the great architect of the universe, discovered the long-lost vaults and the secrets contained within. John Leland was appointed by King Henry VIII to go through the archives of the various religious institutions dissolved by the king and remove for preservation any books or manuscripts of an important character. Among the documents copied by Leland was a series of questions and answers concerning the mystery of Masonry written by King Henry VI in answer to the question, "How came Masonry into England?" The document states that Peter Gower, a Grecian, traveled for knowledge in Egypt, Syria, and every land where the Phoenicians had planted Masonry. Winning entrance in all lodges of Masons, he learned much, and returning, dwelt in Greater Greece. He became renowned for his wisdom, formed a great lodge at Groton, and made many Masons, some of whom journeyed in France, spreading Masonry there. From France in the course of time the order passed into England. To even the superficial student of the subject it must be evident that the name of Peter Gower, the Grecian, is merely an anglicized form of Pythagoras. Consequently Groton, where he formed his lodge, is easily identified with Crotona. A link is thus established between the philosophic mysteries of Greece and medieval Freemasonry. In his notes on King Henry's questions and answers, William Preston enlarges upon the vow of secrecy as it was practiced by the ancient initiates. On the authority of Pliny he describes how Anaxarchus, having been imprisoned in order to extort from him some of the secrets with which he had been entrusted, bit out his own tongue and threw it in the face of Nicocreon, the tyrant of Cyprus. Preston adds that the Athenians revered a brazen statue that was represented without a tongue to denote the sanctity with which they regarded their oath-bound secrets. It is also noteworthy that, according to King Henry's manuscript, Masonry had its origin in the East and was the carrier of the arts and sciences of civilization to the primitive humanity of the Western nations. Insert. The Mystery of the Macrocosm. Redrawn from Sariano's edition of Vitruvius. Summarizing the relationship between the human body and the theory of architectonics, Vitruvius writes, "Since nature has designed the human body so that its members are duly proportioned to the frame as a whole, it appears that the ancients had good reason for their rule, that in perfect building the different members must be in exact symmetrical relations to the whole general scheme. Hence, while transmitting to us the proper arrangements for buildings of all kinds, they were particularly careful to do so in the case of temples of the gods, buildings in which merits and faults usually last forever. Therefore, if it is agreed that number was found out from the human fingers, and that there is a symmetrical correspondence between the members separately and the entire form of the body, in accordance with a certain part selected as standard, we can have nothing but respect for those who, in constructing temples of the immortal gods, have so arranged the members of the works that both the separate parts and the whole design may harmonize in their proportions and symmetry." See the 10 books on architecture. By some it is believed that St. Paul was initiated into the Dionysiac mysteries, for in the 10th verse of the 3rd chapter of 1 Corinthians he calls himself a master builder or adept according to the grace of God which is given into me, as a wise master builder. I have laid the foundation and another buildeth thereon. As survivals of the ancient Dionysiac rites, the 2 diagrams of Sariano, accompanying this chapter are of incalculable value to the modern mystic architect. Continued. Conspicuous among the symbols of Freemasonry are the 7 liberal arts and sciences. By grammar man is taught to express in no